Joining us right now with his reaction to the news from Pfizer and what it could mean for his state, where we've seen a concerning number of rises in COVID cases. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy is here. He recently warned of potential new restrictions in the Garden State. Governor, thank you so very, very much for joining us on what is a very good day in terms of science, less good day in terms of where we stand with COVID right this moment. But I'm curious if you think that this news and potentially the timeline for when a vaccine becomes available would change your strategy at all.
Andrew, good to be with you. No, short answer is no. I was on Saturday with Dr. Tony Fauci, who's been a great advisor for us in New Jersey, and he made the point we're sort of in a 6-month window here. I'm not sure he had the Pfizer news at that point. He may have. But we're in a plus or minus 6-month window where we got to battle against the fatigue, the COVID fatigue here, stop letting our hair down with holidays coming up. So the answer is it doesn't change us in that window. But boy, it's really, really good news in the longer term.
In terms of the idea of lockdowns, other types of restrictions, where are you at right now, and what are you thinking over the next month or two?
Yeah, we'll take some steps later today, but they won't come close to what we were doing in the spring. This is not a lockdown, but this is tweaking our parameters at the edges. Andrew, the fact of the matter is a lot of the transmission, as far as we could tell, and apparently this is the case nationally as well, is in private settings. So we got to stay on the bullhorn, keep pleading with folks, battle against that fatigue. This is not forever and always. We got a 6-month window, basically, to keep this thing at check. And then with the vaccines, such as the one that Pfizer has announced today, we'll be in a dramatically different place. Not entirely in the clear, but a dramatically different and better place as much as 6 months from now.
I know and imagine that you will be encouraging people to take the vaccine once it has been approved by the FDA. I'm curious how you would think about either employers, private or public, meaning government workers being required to take the vaccine to come to work.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think folks will get there on their own, honestly. And we're not going to wait for the vaccine. We've already started public service announcements and efforts to communicate. You know, we've been pretty convinced over the past number of weeks that the feds were doing the right thing. The private sector certainly doing the right thing. We've got our own checks and balances in New Jersey, and the Pfizer news today is another good example of well-placed optimism. I think, notwithstanding a vocal but minority anti-vax bloc in our state, and frankly probably in every state, I believe folks will get there of their own free will.
Governor, you've warned that with the climbing case rate in New Jersey and the tri-state area that you are very likely going to have to issue some new restrictions or bring back some old restrictions. What are those restrictions? What are you targeting?
Yeah, Becky, we're still working that through, but my guess is later today that we're going to shave at the edges. You know, for instance, we've seen that if you sit at a bar, there's a much higher likelihood of a transmission. Restaurants that stay open late, folks let their hair down later than earlier. We've seen some sports, particularly indoor sports, transmissions. We actually don't think it's due to the sport, but adjacent activities to that, particularly in multi-state tournaments. Those are the sorts of things we're looking at in the near term.
So you're talking about high school sports potentially having restrictions on those winter sports that are played indoors?
Indoors, but interstate, importantly, not necessarily inside of New Jersey, but tournaments in particular that include other states and especially that include travel. Those are areas that we're laser focused on.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.